Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for checking it out. In this video, I'm going to be talking about dating boundaries. We all wonder if they're necessary and if they are what they should be. So I want to talk about it, tell you about my experience with my dating my now husband, and just some advice that I learned along the way, both from my own experiences and from others. So dating boundaries and how far is too far, what should we do? Now, if you're new here, thanks for checking this out. On my channel, I talk about what I'm learning to grow in Christ and what I'm learning to know how to live well in Christ. So if you want to grow and know with me, feel free to subscribe and hit that reminder bell to watch more videos like that. I also upload music. I am a singer-songwriter, so more music to come, but right now I have one single out and a few other songs that I've just written and posted because I wanted to share them, so feel free to check those videos out. I also make videos, fun videos with my husband, doing different things. Right now we're doing a Guess That series, so I guessed NBA players and I guessed NFL players. A hot mess, but if you want to check that out and laugh and see how I failed pretty bad, feel free. That's also on my channel. But for this video, we're talking about dating boundaries. Now, if you don't know what I mean when I say that, basically, for example, if you're interested in somebody and you want to get to know them or you want to date them or whatever, you might want some boundaries in in your relationship or friendship or whatever. So certain things that you won't do with each other, that you won't do to make sure that, you won't fall into sexual immorality, that you're staying pure, that you won't get too attached too soon because you don't know who this person is, or things that you can do as well. That's all part of the boundaries. So I'm going to be talking about why it's important and what they should look like and all that stuff. So first things first. Why have boundaries? Why should we have boundaries? I personally believe it is important, and that's not just because I read it in Michael Todd's relationship goals book, but I saw in my life when I didn't have boundaries, things didn't go right. I got too attached too soon. I was, neglecting certain people just because I was so obsessed with this person, or neglecting certain duties or whatever it was. It just didn't go right? And when I did have boundaries, now I'm married to that man. The one time I had boundaries, look at how that worked out. So I just want to tell y'all that boundaries can help you, please the Lord, help you stay pure in your dating pursuit. For example, close proximity can cause attachment too soon, like I was mentioning earlier. So close proximity, what do I mean? When you're always in communication with that person, day in, day out, all the time, whether that's in person, through messaging, through phone calls, the whole 9 yards, that's keeping you in close proximity. That's keeping you close. If you're close together, close in location, where you can visit each other all the time, through the night, the day, whatever, the whole 9 yards, that's close proximity. Those kind of things can cause attachment when you abuse it too much, right? When you are too close, too often, too soon. So you don't want to get too attached to somebody that turns out that they're not right for you, because when you grow those feelings for somebody, it's too early and you haven't got that confirmation from God, right? And those feelings are so strong, it can cloud what God is trying to tell you about this person, whether it's the red flags, why they're not going to work for you, whether maybe why they would, and those feelings of fear could cloud that as well. So as you get closer to someone, sometimes people have fear as well attached to that because of the hurt from their past, or whatever it is, people broke their trust, whatever it is. So if you're getting too close and now you're getting wrapped up and it's getting more and more serious and you haven't confided in God and you haven't set boundaries, now fear can disrupt the relationship, where that relationship could have been good for you, but now you just want to run away. So setting boundaries can prevent that close proximity from getting in the way of hearing from God about this, of following wisdom and just knowing if this person is right for you and knowing if this relationship is good for you. So this could be for romantic relationships. That's mainly what I'm talking about here. But to be honest, it's probably could be good for friendships as well, especially when they're new. You're still learning if they're going to be a good close friend, if you want to trust them. It could be a good thing to set boundaries for new friends, just to make sure they're people you want to keep in your life. You know what I mean? So I didn't think about that before, but I might want to use some of these boundaries as I'm looking for friends in this new city that I just moved to. Another reason to have boundaries, like I said before, when you're all caught up in the feelings before, following that wisdom before you really know it's from God and all those things. Now it's also harder for you to surrender that person to God, to let go or move on from that person when, God's trying to tell you maybe you need to back up. It's not always because this person is wrong for you or this friend is wrong for you, but maybe not the right timing, or maybe he's just trying to keep you from sin or whatever it is. Or maybe they're the wrong person and you just don't want to let this person go because you like them so much and now you're attached to them physically, potentially, or emotionally. And you just can't do it. And you just can't believe God would say this is the wrong person. What? Boundaries could help with that. And lastly, I kind of touched on it when I said you could be attached to this person physically. Boundaries could help prevent sexual immorality, prevent you falling into temptation. I'll give you 2 Bible verses to help bring some biblicalness into this mess, okay? 1 Corinthians 6 verse 18 says, "Run from sexual sin. No other sin so clearly affects the body as this one does. For sexual immorality is a sin against your own body. No other sin affects you as this one does because it's against your own body." So it's advised in the Bible to run from sexual immorality. And 1 Corinthians 10 verse 13, Paul goes further to say the temptations in your life are no different from what others experience. And God is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than you can stand. When you are tempted, He will show you a way out so that you can endure. God provides the way of escape from temptation. So Paul talks about to the church of Corinth, run from sexual immorality. Run. You don't want to be involved in it. You don't want to fall into that temptation because it can really tie you up spiritually and physically. I don't even want to get into it right now, but it's advised, okay? But he also says that God provides a way out. So it's still your choice to go with what God provides, to follow God in that way out. The way that God could provide this is by giving you wisdom in what your boundaries should be. For us, for my husband and I, the boundaries were a protection even that God provided to allow us to not fall into temptation. Because when I tell you temptation was large in our relationship, it was crazy. But it's really a way where you can just make sure that you're not even close to that temptation to fall, because we're all human. And though we can say, hey, no, we won't fall, shoot, God got me and He's keeping me pure, blah, 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 and that, you're still human at the end of the day. And it says to run from temptation because you can fall, not to stick around next to it because you're so strong and mighty in the Lord and all that. Like God helps you stay pure, but one of those ways is to provide a way out, right? And one of these ways is boundaries. So let's get into it. Now, some popular boundary questions are, should we kiss when we're dating? Should we kiss before we're dating? Should we kiss when we're engaged? Should we hug? Should we side hug? Should we go on trips together? Should we live with the other person? Should we stay the night with the other person? Should we, get a dog together before marriage? Should we communicate all throughout the night and the day? Those are a lot of popular questions that I want to address because I have thoughts and feelings. So first things first, kissing. This was my first question, like way back when, before I even met Joshua. Should I kiss, after marriage, blah, 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 or before marriage, blah, 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 blah. This is, a debated topic. I understand people have different feelings. People have different temptations. Should we kiss before marriage? Should we kiss before the dating phase when we're just talking or getting to know each other? Should we kiss when we're engaged because now we're about to be married anyway? The whole 9 yards. Should we just peck? Should we just make out? Should we blah, 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 blah? So much debate. So all I can do is tell you my thoughts and why I have those thoughts, what my experience was. It's a tricky topic, but personally, I don't think kissing before marriage is wise, just my opinion. And it's because kissing can lead to other things. Now, one of the sneaky plans of the devil is to tempt you to fall before marriage. And what I mean is tempt you to fall into sexual behavior before marriage and to have sex with someone that's not your husband. And then he also tempts you to not have sex after marriage. It's like a crazy thing. He's really trying to keep you just out of God's pleasing will, So when you start to engage in, sexual behavior, whether that's just kissing or further, it gets that much harder and harder to want to resist from actually just doing the thing, right? So for me, for Joshua and I, one of our boundaries was no kissing before dating, at least. Or actually it was before marriage for most of the time. That was my thing. I didn't want to kiss because I was scared it would lead to more. And we learned that yes, it would. We didn't kiss, but then we decided when we started dating, maybe it's okay. So when we did, and at first it was fine, right? We were able to hold back a little, but it became so much where we wanted to kiss all the time, or it just became so tempting when we were doing it to go further and further. We finally realized we got to stop because we will go too far, especially if we're alone together. So we've stopped kissing. I think it was like actually right after we got engaged or something like that, that we learned that this was just not good. We just need to wait till our wedding day because this is a hot mess. And if you think, if we don't kiss, how do I know if he's a good kisser or if she's a good kisser or whatever? I mean, I wasn't a good kisser at the beginning. I only had so many lessons, I don't know. But we learned what the other person liked over time. So you don't really need to worry about that because kissing is one thing that you can just learn how to do well. And you really just want to please yourself and the other partner when you're doing it, when your spouse really. So you'll learn what your spouse likes and what you like. And that's all that matters. So it doesn't really matter. So I think that because it can lead to, and it can be very tempting to want to go further and further and further every minute and every second of every day, the more you do it, I think I would advise not to kiss before marriage. That's just my own personal take. Some people can handle it, maybe a peck here or there, but that's just me. Now, living together, I feel like it's another boundary, that I personally would want to set up for myself because, again, like I said, you're leaving room for temptation. Yes, you could sleep in separate beds, you can sleep in separate rooms, but in my opinion, I think you're still with that other person through the night. You're still with that other person by yourself, and without anyone there to kind of chaperone, I guess, So I think that's just, again, leaving room for temptation. And the Bible says to run from it. So how can we be running if we're standing around next to it? You know what I'm saying? We're sleeping next to it because we're staying the night in the same apartment or same house. Again, that's just my opinion. I know people who are doing this, but and I'm not saying that they're falling. I just know I know what my weakness is. Okay, I could not handle it. I already know. So unless I had a chaperone, which I did, and I'll talk about that later. So that's just my own personal preference. I also think things like splitting bills and owning the same things like furniture and TV and maybe a dog or whatever it is, I feel like that should be part of oneness because now you're sharing everything, including your home, including your furniture, your dog, your everything when you're married. That's a one type thing. But that truly is my opinion. I don't really have, true like biblical. I mean, I don't know. That part really is my opinion. It's not necessarily my experience. So that's just what I think. I'll just say two more before I get into my boundaries. I guess for probably popular questions. If you guys have more questions, like if you're like, should I do this? Should I do that? Is this a boundary I should have? What do you think? Please let me know. It's really about you guys, what you want to do, or even you don't have to consult with the other person. You can set these boundaries and let them know straight up, hey, these are my boundaries, I won't cross them, period. Okay, but this is your decision. It's something you can consult with the Lord about. It doesn't have to be all of what I'm saying or all of what I did. Just, yeah, it's you. But I just wanted to bring up probably the popular ones that you guys might be wondering about. So another one could be communication. How often should we communicate? How often should we, text message and call and see each other and blah, blah, blah. So this is something my friend and I, way back when, realized that we needed to start doing just in general, because we tended to get caught up in the men, you know what I'm saying, and be texting them all the time and wanted to stay up late texting them, and just because we wanted to feel that love from them all the time, and we just wanted to be, adored and loved all the time, and we just appreciated it, and it was almost like we needed it, and because we needed it from them, it was like we weren't trying to seek it from God. It was like we felt like I'll speak for myself. I felt like I needed that more than my time with God. It's like I just wanted to hear from them more than I wanted to hear from God, and it became them over God at that point when I communicated too much. So for me, in my opinion, I feel like not calling and texting at night can be good, because at night, you're chilling, you're not, I don't know, you're just more tired. I don't know, or you're more, I don't know. I think having a time when you don't talk is good, and I think this is your rest time, this is when you're going to bed. It doesn't really matter what time. I don't know how long you stay up, how late you stay up. It could be midnight or 1 a.m. for you, or 10 p.m. But you're going to bed, you're about to have dreams, you don't want to go be texting and calling them to sleep, because now you might be dreaming about them or thinking about them all night. I don't know. There's just something about the nighttime I learned from myself. I set that boundary. So for me, I set a boundary way back, not talking to men after 9 p.m. Men in general, unless it had to do with work. Sometimes, there were events I had to go to and they went late. So unless it was work related or it was an emergency or something like that, then I just didn't like to talk to men after 9 p.m. Unless it was my dad. I mean, it's my dad. But anyway, so that's just my opinion. At the end of the day, I think not communicating with them 24/7, possibly not even talking with them in the morning before talking with God. It's just a thought. Lastly, I'll talk about traveling. So this can be a tricky one. You want to go on road trips with the person you're interested in, or the person you're dating, or you're engaged to. You want to see sights, experience things together, you feel me? And I think that's great and grand, and you got it. But I think there are boundaries with this when you want to do that. So I would say, just like I don't agree with living together before marriage, probably not wise to stay in the same hotel room, stay in the same bedroom, things like that. I personally for me, I wouldn't stay in the same Airbnb, but it really goes back to what I was talking about earlier, my weaknesses and where I fall. Okay, I'm talking about, I already know. I'm sure one night I'd be fine, but who knows if I do that often, stay in the same Airbnb as them as I'm traveling, who knows? I'm trying to run, okay? So I'll say that Joshua and I set a boundary not to travel with each other before we started dating, like when we were just getting to know each other, and we were like, I'll get into this more later, but we said we wouldn't travel together basically, and we would just see each other and day trips wouldn't do day trips and stuff like that. But once we started dating, we did do day trips. Would spend hours in the car, as we're going places. It really helped us get to know each other more, saw if we could really travel together, and what happened when we were tired and stressed and we were around each other, We also did take, I think our longest trips were like, that was just us two, was just for a night or something, but we'd stay in separate hotel rooms, and yeah, I don't know, if everyone should do that. Like I said, we did that for one night, so it was fine, but I don't know that I would advise that necessarily. I'm not perfect. Okay, I'm just telling you what I did. But yeah, so we did that. I would often go to his family's house because they only lived about an hour and a half from us. So we would stay with his family a lot. I would stay maybe even a week or so, especially when I was working remote. That was fun because his parents were there. They lived there, and then we stayed in separate bedrooms, and so they were always around making sure, things were good, you know what I'm saying? So that was good. And then, when he stayed at my family's house as well, I just think it's about who you're around and intentions and stuff like that. So yeah, that's some boundaries that I think that could be good. There could be other ones, but I think it's important, just to run. Wherever your temptations rise, just run from it and try to figure out, what's best for you, and you don't want to get too attached too soon when you don't know if this is even God. So now I can get into kind of my experience with Joshua, some of our boundaries. Like I said, we had a whole list of boundaries that we didn't do. So I might not say all of them, but just to give you a gist. So first thing, you might have seen this in my other video when we talked about our dating relationship experience or whatever. So you can check that out if you would like to. But Joshua and I, we followed Michael Todd's intentional friendship, kind of like, not fully, but kind of. So when we first met, we met on Hinge. We were just getting to know each other. So we didn't really label things. We didn't say we're dating because we didn't even know who the other person was. And it wasn't until maybe 2 months in of talking with each other like that we even thought about Michael Todd's intentional friendship. Might have been, I think it was about 2 months in, yeah. So I think we set boundaries then, but at that time we only had seen each other in person maybe once or twice. So because we were long distance, so the boundaries were it was kind of a given for for us both. I already had my own boundaries and he had his ideas. So anyway, 2 months in we did Michael Todd's intentional friendship, which was supposed to last 90 days before we started dating. We were going to do that, right? But a month after we started that, we were like, okay, this is too stressful. We need to start dating because we already know, you feel me? But it was because we had been talking 2 months before then already. So I consider that we did the 90 days, just we didn't realize we were doing it. So we did the intentional friendship for 90 days, having boundaries, not just getting to know each other, going really deep and really hardcore, setting expectations, setting our fears, blah, 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 and that. And then we started dating, and we dated, I want to say, for 6 months. So we started dating in Thanksgiving of 2020, and then I believe we dated for 6 months, and then we got engaged for 3 months, married. Yeah. So that was our process. So some of our boundaries that we set up, we adjusted when we started dating, but a lot of them we kept the same. So I mentioned before the talking, the communication. I told him up front that I don't talk to men after 9 p.m., pretty much up front, and he understood. So we didn't talk after 9 p.m. Unless when we visited each other, the other person was driving home and they were struggling staying awake. So we called each other on the phone. Let me tell you, that was me when I tell you. I struggled, okay? But yeah, we would call each other on the phone on the way home, but then we wouldn't talk to each other. Or we would message each other when we got home just to tell them that we're there, to tell them we're safe. Other than that, we kept it pretty good to 9 p.m. When we started dating, we kind of pushed it to 10 p.m. And then it got kind of iffy when I stayed with his parents and he stayed with mine and blah, blah, blah. It got harder to keep that, let me just tell you right there. But I think it was good to at least, I'll say we should have kept it better than we did. But for the most part, we tried to keep it at 10 p.m. even through dating, I believe. Another one we did before, in our intentional friendship stage, we said that we wouldn't stay in a parked car longer than 15 minutes. Because it's just so tempting in a parked car. You think no one's watching for some reason, and you just look at each other and you're like, oh my gosh, we're not driving. We could just look at each other. So we realized a little later on, we were like, okay, for some reason we're staring at each other too much and we want to do more. So we need to just get out the car, okay? And even if we want to talk, just get out the car. So we set a boundary about not being parked for more than 15 minutes. Now, when we started dating, we stopped doing that boundary because, we thought it was fine to kiss, and I don't know, we just thought it was fine. And sometimes we'd have conversations and stuff. I think probably would have been wise to keep that because you can always get out the car and talk, you know what I'm saying? Like walk around. There's just something about a dark parked car that just, no. So I would advise to keep that if you wanted to do that. Another thing we did was before, in our intentional friendship stage, we didn't hang out without another person present. So like I told you, we lived long distance, about maybe 2 hours, an hour and a half. So, we didn't see each other that often where it was that huge of a deal, but in person, but we did try to have someone around. So like the first time we met, my friend tagged along, thanks to her, because we hung out all day. It was, but or like when I went to see him, his mom with us. So it was just like we just always wanted to have someone around, just so that temptations wouldn't arise, and it wasn't just based off of attraction that we do things, because we were still getting to know each other, and we just wanted to keep that boundary. We did adjust that once we started dating. We were fine, just being us two, going places, doing things. That was something I still feel fine about. Another one, let me just tell y'all, we went a little too far with this. But during our intentional friendship stage, we said that we wouldn't kiss, we wouldn't hug, we wouldn't hold hands, which I think was good, just to make sure that it wasn't physical attraction or sex or anything like, I don't know, like lovey-dovey that was getting in the way of us really knowing each other to know if we want to be with the other person, I guess. But we went too far is we just said no touching at all. We didn't want to blur the lines of like, oh, I'm not holding your hand, I'm just putting my hand on yours, or I'm not hugging you, I'm just patting your back. Oh, I'm not kissing you, I'm just kissing you. So we just didn't want to blur the line, so we were just like, just don't touch me, don't put your knee on my knee, don't put your foot on my foot, no footsies. But it became so stressful. It became so stressful because I'd touch and then we'd be like, ah, and stuff. So it'd be like, it was silly. We went too far with it. I wouldn't say do that, but we learn from our mistakes here, okay? Just do it in a way where you think you could stay pure, I would say. And lastly, I'll just say this so that I won't drone on forever. We also agreed that no, we wouldn't sext. We wouldn't do sexting before or during our dating relationship, and we wouldn't send sexually suggestive emojis or anything like that. We'll say that for the marriage, okay? But we also, before dating, we said that we wouldn't give each other pet names, so like call each other babe or gorgeous or blah, blah, like stuff like that. We could still compliment, but we didn't want to give each other pet names or make it be a dating relationship. So like he wouldn't open the door for me, he wouldn't pay for my meal, because we weren't dating yet. We wanted to really have that be a clear boundary, to just show that we're in a friendship still. We're really still getting to know each other, and we don't want to have too much expectation in the other person before we're even in a relationship. Once we were in a relationship, he did all those things. We called each other pet names. It was great. But that was another boundary that we set. Now, lastly, thanks for getting through this with me, y'all. Lastly, I want to point out, we talked about what we couldn't do, but we also talked about what we could do so that it wasn't feeling so restrictive, but reminding ourselves that this is just to please the Lord, to also not get hurt. This was so we wouldn't get hurt in the process, where we wouldn't get so attached so soon that if we weren't right for each other and now we're like crying and sad and like, I can't believe it, we were on the same page the whole time. So it was a good reminder, and it was good to talk about what we could do. So some things that we could do that we wrote down: we could smile and laugh a whole bunch. We could still send voice memos, text messages, call each other, FaceTime. We FaceTime once a week, so that was something we did. We wanted to see each other in person. Well, I should say we FaceTime at least once a week. And we wanted to see each other in person at least once a month. It really turned into every week, a couple times a week. Anyway, so a lot of gas. We can still hang out just with other people. We can encourage each other. We can compliment each other. We can support each other in our goals. We can send each other Bible verses. We could, he said, tag each other in funny memes. So, okay. They are funny. He finds good ones. We can share our thoughts with each other, our feelings about the relationship, or the friendship. And a bonus, I forgot, I do want to mention this. Something we also put in our boundaries before our dating relationship, we said that we wouldn't say the L word. We would not say love, because both of us could be so quick to think we were in love with someone else. We've both been through that before, so we didn't want to say that too soon when we weren't 100% knowing that this was the person for us and this is how we felt. And this is how we wanted to choose to love them in that way. So we did not say the L word, even though we both pretty much knew we loved each other like pretty early on. It was just like, it was hard for me not to say it after a while. I was like, I just want to say it. And he wanted to say it first, so I had to hold my tongue. Anyway, but we were able to say it once we started dating. It was like literally like the next week after we made the official relationship that he said it to me. So it was pretty good. But okay, so that was my talk about boundaries, in my opinion, basically, in my experience. I hope that was helpful, or at least got you thinking maybe. If you're interested in talking to someone, or if you're dating somebody, it's never too late to set these boundaries, I don't think. So just something I wanted to offer up. And yeah, I hope you liked the video. Feel free to share it if you think someone would want to see this. And yeah, again, feel free to subscribe to see more videos like this, and I hope to see y'all next time.